In combat, superstition and ritual become all-consuming. When the possibility of death and dismemberment waits around every corner, soldiers obsess about luck and how they can improve theirs. One of the unwritten rules is to never, ever go outside the wire on your last day. If you're going home, or even just on leave, why tempt fate? When Captain Boyce said he was taking his men on a foot patrol the day before I left, I immediately thought about that rule. But with the drawdown in full effect, this was likely to be my last embed. So, with some apprehension, I agreed to go out, on my last day, on my last ever foot patrol. The village was called Pai Maluk, and it was home to a small group of Afghan local police, also known as ALP. The ALP is yet another security force created by the Americans. It's basically a militia, with village elders selecting men from their own area to keep the Taliban out. Some are given 3 weeks training by special forces, but most are simply handed a gun and get no instruction or help at all. Abdul Jalil was the self-appointed ALP commander in Pai Maluk, and his police checkpoint was just a single-walled compound sitting on the edge of the village. He told me the checkpoint was attacked almost daily by Taliban fighters, and that he was barely able to venture out of the building without being shot at. With the ALP joining the patrol, the US soldiers led the way and started moving across some open ground. Suddenly, gunfire erupted from the tree line. No one was hit, and the Americans returned fire, with the Afghan security forces joining in. As Captain Boyce called for air support, the Taliban withdrew. The American soldiers refused to chase after them, knowing that this was exactly what the Taliban wanted. But Jalil, usually outmanned and outgunned, desperately wanted the well-armed US troops to help him hunt down and kill his enemy. Over the next 5 hours, as the Taliban attacked repeatedly, the US soldiers moved slowly, methodically, searching for improvised explosive devices, the IEDs that have taken so many lives and limbs. At one point in the day, I turned around to film the soldiers walking past me. A burst of gunfire came from behind, and I heard bullets snapping by my head. A Taliban fighter had popped up from behind a wall, about 10 meters from me, and somehow he had missed me. My luck was holding, it seemed. Later in the day, in an overgrown, gloomy alley, an old man cracked open the door to his house and muttered quickly with Jalil, warning of another Taliban ambush up ahead. The old man also passed on the location of several IEDs, vital life-saving information. Captain Boyce refused to be drawn into the Taliban ambush and decided he had had enough. He declared the day a tactical victory and told his men to pull back. Jalil returned to his checkpoint, shorter than ever of ammunition and surrounded again by his enemy. Sadly, his luck ran out a few days later, and he was killed in yet another shootout with the Taliban.